All right, so we've got to this stage, which is the underpainting and then a layer of the overpainting on each petal. And we look at it and we think, oh, okay, well, this needs a bit more bright color here, or it needs a little bit of more extra color here or there. Maybe, this and this isn't quite working well enough. And so one of the other things we can do is, or a couple of things we can do actually, is we can use a dry brush technique, which is not the same as the dry brush technique we used with the chestnut, for example, which is a fine dry brush technique. This is more of a feathering of the paint, I guess. The only thing is we're using it on a dry paper. The other thing we can use is a glaze if necessary. So we'll just go over those techniques. Okay, so with the feathering, and I'll call it feathering this time, we need to make sure that we've got the right consistency of water to paint. This time I'm going to use a number 2 brush, which is quite a large brush, medium large brush, I guess. And I'm going to wet an area, actually add a little more water to that, so that the paint flows reasonably well. It's not very thick, or it's not very pigmented, if you like, and it seems to flow quite well. And on the paper, which is dry, I'm going to use a very soft technique of strokes that tend to blend into each other. So what we want is an area of paint that doesn't look like individual brush strokes. I'm using a very light touch with the end of the brush and just sort of stretching the paint out. Now the Taklon brushes are terrific for this because they allow the paint to be pushed around quite well. So I'm looking at my my image here and thinking, okay, what do I need to do? Looking at this little area there that on our photograph is a little bit brighter and darker. So I'm going to start with using a tissue here just to make sure the paint isn't too wet or too dry. And we're just going to start to just stroke in very, very gently and in a more intense color there. And we're just going to do it not all in one hit. We're just going to do it in a few little layers. Now, because it's on dry paper, it actually dries fairly quickly, so you don't have to wait very long to go back over that again. Now I'm going to also just turn the paper slightly and just using the brush to follow the form of the petals, because if any little indication of direction comes through, which it may, you do want those lines to actually, excuse me, follow the shape of the petal. So just testing again, okay. Again, increasing the intensity of this area here. And just very delicately stroking the petals so that there's a little striation showing now. And we also need, I'm going to turn the paper sideways, we also need to come in from the outside with some very soft striations as well, because that's what the petal actually has. Now I just want to increase that edge slightly. So very soft. Indication that that edge is slightly stronger. No outlines, we don't want any outlines on the petals. If we have an increase in intensity, then it's an area next to another area, not an outline. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now I shall continue. Now this is not a quick fix, but it will help, I think, just to work slowly over the flower, picking up where it needs to be intensified. And you may find you need to perhaps increase the violet in some particular areas. And again, as I said before, don't allow the brush strokes to show. If you get a bit of a strong one by accident, which happens quite frequently, what I do, and this is not a professional way of doing it, I just use my finger and soften it out that way. So we're just drawing very lightly with the paint and indicating those soft striations in the petals. And as I did before, you may find it easier to turn your paper around. Okay, so this takes a little while. I'm not going to do the whole flower now, but I will do a little bit more in a minute. And what we've got to do is to look at the edges of one petal against another petal. So looking at our source material, that is brighter than I've actually done, so I'm going to add a bit more intensity to that area. Now, you might be able to see that there's still a bit of a pencil line on there, which I wasn't careful enough to remove, but I'm trying to do this in a bit of a hurry, I'm afraid. Right, we're coming to this area here where we actually will need a little more violet. So this time I'm going to put a soft okay, don't know if you can see that very clearly. It's a little more violet in the shadowy area here. Okay, so it's just starting to get a little bit more form, understanding of the, what the petals are actually doing. And I would take your time over this. Do a little bit and then stand back and make sure that everything is as you want it to be. Turn your painting upside down, because that sometimes helps you to see things a little more clearly, or hold it up to a mirror and it gives you a completely new viewpoint. Now it may be that you want to, in this case I'm just using a bit of pure Quin Red, just to increase that intensity there. All right.